Hello everyone, today I'm going to be teaching all of you at home all about Microsoft OneNote. Now because OneNote is slightly different on every platform, because apparently Microsoft doesn't seem to get this little thing called consistency, I'm going to be actually creating 3 different versions of this class, fun, for the Mac, iPad, and Windows PC. Now today we are talking about OneNote on the iPad, so if you're interested in taking our class on OneNote for Mac or Windows, be sure to check out links to those videos in the description of this video as they become available. We're not recording them all at the same time, so it might be a couple of days or weeks before we're able to finish them. That's what's coming up next, TechTalkAmerica.com. Welcome to the class, everyone. We are talking, of course, all about Microsoft OneNote. It is a fantastic app as far as helping you organize your stuff. Many of you who have come to know me over the years of doing these classes and tutorials have probably learned that I work with a few high-profile folks. And one of the things that I've always found very interesting about working with different people is that even some of the people at the very top of the food chain still have issues with organizing their stuff. And this is definitely one of those apps that can help that. So whether you're looking to use this with your business or just for recipes or just casual thoughts, it's a great app, and of course it's free. It's also universal, which means that you can use it on pretty much every device that's out there. You can use it on your iPad, your iPhone, other tablet, computer of any kind, including, of course, Mac, PC, Chromebook, whatever. You can even use it through the web. It's very, very easy. You're going to love it. So what I like to do when I teach this class is I have a certain order that I like to go in. I like to start off with going over the preferences that I recommend you put in. This is the exact same thing I'd be going over with you if you were sitting right next to me. So you're getting a deal here. And then we're going to go through navigating the app. I'm going to show you how to create different types of notes. And then I'm going to go on, I'm going to give you just a bunch of little quick random tips and tricks. I like to keep these videos, as to the point as I possibly can, but I also like to keep it evenly paced. So I think we are about ready to begin. Now, in order to use OneNote, you have to have a Microsoft.com account. That does not mean that you are creating a new email address. It's just like with any service. You're putting in your email address and a password, and that's going to be how you're going to fetch all of this stuff at any point in time. I want to reiterate that this data is stored on the cloud. So if your iPad is stolen, I just recently had a client who he left his computer on a plane. Okay, you can still get back that data because it's not actually on the device. There's technically a copy of it, but it's all in the cloud, so it's going to sync. So you can pull it in from anywhere. So when you sign in, you'll see your name here at the top. I'm going to tap on that little gear icon you see. We're going to go over some very fast settings. The first one you see here is called Quick Notes. Okay, Quick Notes is just the default location for where it saves stuff. Okay, when you're just jotting it down really quickly, maybe taking a photo. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But this is just the default location. Now you're not going to see this. Okay, it's going to probably be blank when you're first starting off. It'll have all of the other notebooks that you have, and you're just going to tell it which one you want. I find it very odd that Microsoft doesn't just create a default notebook called Quick Notes. So ultimately, guess what we're doing? We're going to do just that. But for now, we're going to go back. We're going to go here to Edit and View. They do give you quite a few different fonts to choose from. Now, it's been a while, I have to admit, since I used the competitor to this software, which is Evernote. But the last time I remember using it, they didn't have this many fonts. Personally, I don't really care that much about fonts, but hey, it's nice to have options, right? Default font size. For those of you who, like me, you know what? My vision just isn't what it was when I was 14. Default size, you can change it to whatever you want. I think the default is, 10 for you 10-year-olds. Viewing options. Hide authors. That's a feature that some people like if they're collaborating with other people. You can work on documents with different people all at the same time. It's kind of cool. Let's go back. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to close that. And now we have extensions. Extensions has to do with Notification Center, and when you first get the app, it's going to look like that. My recommendation is that you do that. Very easy. For those of you who don't know, when you put your finger at the very, very top of your iPad screen and then drag down, you go into, voila, Notification Center. You have 2 tabs here. We have Widgets and we have Notifications. Notice that we are right now on Widgets. And you'll see here that I have OneNote listed right here. It's just an easy way to quickly do a few different things. Now, if you don't see it there, and if it's your first time, you won't, what you're going to need to do is tap here on Edit on the left-hand side of the screen, and these are all of the available widgets that you can install. Okay, so the top part here, okay, that's your widget view, and whatever's not here is below. So let me just take it off so I can add it real quick. So you can see I can now hit the little green plus button next to OneNote. It disappears from that list because it's now up here. If you want to reorder any of these, that's where these three little lines on the right-hand side, that's where those come in handy. So we're going to drag it to the top for now. When you're done, tap Done at the top right. So there we have. Now, this is, again, just a shortcut to do something very quickly, okay? So I can just tap Note, and it's just going to kind of punch into the app, and it's going to allow me to do whatever I want. The next option here is Photo. So what that's going to do is that's going to launch the camera. You're going to take a photo. It's going to put it into a default notebook, which we're about to create, and then List. Basically the exact same thing as a note. It just saves you one really minor step. Let's go back. Notifications, this just means you want to be alerted if someone, makes a modification to your file. You can do that if you want, and that's all we're going over there. Also, you'll notice under this tab, and just a reminder, we're right now in the icon with the three lines at the very top left. Here you're going to see notebooks that you have recently been in. One of the very odd aspects I find of Microsoft OneNote is you cannot delete a notebook. Okay, so you can kind of close it and not really see it, but you cannot delete it on an iPad. Weird. Anyway, if you want to create a new notebook, you can tap right here to create a new notebook. And if this is your very first time, please, I recommend create a notebook and call it Quick Notes, just as I've done on the previous screen. Okay. Then from there, you're going to want to go to this gear. Go to the gear one more time. And that is where, so I'm doing this with a stylus, Quick Notes, and set it to that location. Okay, just that way you know where your stuff is when you are in a rush. So you can create as many different notebooks as you want. There's no real limit to it. But what you'll notice is that it's not going to have necessarily everything here. If you want to open a notebook that maybe you haven't used in a while, you can go here to Open Notebook, and this connects in with OneDrive. So this is everything that you got, okay? And so you can pick one of those. I did not actually mean to tap that. Cancel. Okay, so I'm going to go right now into Recipes because, is that what I just tapped into? Wow, that was an accidental, wanted to do that. I want to talk about hierarchy, okay? The different levels of organization. At the very top of the list, we have notebooks, as we've been seeing here the whole time. Within a notebook, though, we have sections, and please forgive me, I occasionally slip and call this tabs because that's a tab. They can call it whatever they want, it's a tab. So in the case of recipes, you could do, one for breakfast, you could do, one for lunch, one for dinner, one for desserts, whatever you want. And to add a new section, all you do is tap on this little plus symbol right here. Okay, and when you first do, you're going to be able to type in whatever you want. So I'm going to type in desserts. I have a bit of a sweet tooth. I shouldn't, but I do. And then from here, the next level, the lower level of the hierarchy are pages. So pages at the bottom, then sections, then notebooks. So this would be an actual recipe. And I want to show you actually a really cool trick for how to get recipes into OneNote. It's a very, very simple way to do it. And if you do want to delete a page, you can do that, okay? So you can hit edit here, tap on whatever notes you want, hit the trash can, it's gone. Okay, but very, little strange. You cannot delete the notebooks, and you also cannot delete sections from an iPad. You can on other devices, but not this. So the next thing we're going to talk about is I want to start to walk you through the navigation of this top menu bar here, starting with this icon right here. So that icon right there is to synchronize your notebook. So if you want to make sure that it's on all of your other devices, you can tap that. It's basically the equivalent of save. If you want to leave a notebook, again, you can't delete it, but you can close it. You can tap on close right there. As you're going through here and you're typing stuff, so as I'm creating stuff, inevitably I'm going to screw up, right? So if you look up here at the top left, we have an arrow pointing backwards to the left and one to the right. Left is undo, right is redo. So one goes back in time, one goes forward in time. Now we have these 4 tabs: Home, Insert, Draw, and View. There are actually others that will appear depending on where you are in OneNote. So here under Home, okay, we have, of course, your font that you can choose from. Bold, italic, underline, strike through. This is for your font color. You have a whole bunch of different options here, or you can go into more colors and you can pick from a color wheel. Not really color wheel, color rectangle. Okay. Next one here is highlight color. So if you are working on something, you want to go over it with a highlighter, you can choose different types of colors. Of course, they have a lot of pastels. Then over here, we have some of your different organizing tools, like a bulleted list. Bulleted list, next one here, changes it over to numbers. If you're doing something like, let's say, item 1, and then of course I'd hit return. Okay, maybe it's not 2, maybe it's 1A. That's where these come in handy. See, indent creates 1A. If I do it again, it's lowercase I for 1. Next over here, we have styles. Now, personally, I do not know a lot of people who use styles in this context. A lot of people use it in Word. They use it in Pages. I don't really see a lot of people using this so much in OneNote, so I'm not going to even really talk about it. Now, the next things we have here, we have checkboxes, okay? So if you're creating a list of maybe things to get done, okay, you can just tap on it and there's a check that appears. And then we get into some weird stuff here. And hopefully you all know me. I try to, say it like it is. I speak my mind. This section here, I don't get. And I know folks at Microsoft are watching this class. Hi, folks. Yep, I know you're watching this. These are tags. So you can basically note something is really important by hitting the star. What I don't get about this is on the current version, I have not found a way to be able to search for tags, which is very, very odd. Now, you see here we have a star, we have a question mark, but we also have a ton of other tags here. Okay, so you can mark it as, like a phone number. Okay, now notice it's kind of weird that I find that when you hit on phone number, you would think it would kind of give you the setup where it's got the dashes in it for a phone number. It's not. It's just a tag. That's it. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is the Insert tab. Okay, so we have Table to create a table. It's actually pretty easy to do. So I can tap on Table. I can go into Insert. You can see we already have 2 here. I can do another row above. Okay, and I can do as many as I want. I can delete rows or columns, whatever I need. Go back there. Pictures. There are 2 different ways that you can get pictures into OneNote. You can take a picture from something like iCloud, okay, through your photo library, or you can use the camera. And I want to make bring up something here that's very, very cool. Built into the guts of Microsoft OneNote is what's referred to as OCR technology. That's optical character recognition. And basically what that means is, let's say I take a photo of my driver's license, okay? If I were to search for the word license, it can scan over the text that it sees on the image and it can search for it and find it. So you can search text that's on photos, but you can't search for tags. Microsoft, what's the deal? Come on, dude. Next here we have audio. Great feature I tend to think of especially for students. You can see as soon as I tap on it, it starts to use my built-in microphone to record my audio. You can go as long as you want, hit stop recording. I'm sure there's actually a limit. I just don't know what that is. And now if I wanted to play it, I can just tap on that little audio file and there's either a play button here to the left of it or underneath it I can tap play. And I believe my speakers are turned off right now and that's why you're not hearing it. Next thing we have here are files. So you can include files in OneNote, and something here that you may or may not know, but it doesn't have to be located in OneDrive. You can pull files from other locations. Like for example, this is my iCloud Drive account. If I go tap here on locations, check it out. I can go into more. For those of you who use Dropbox, you can pull in files from Dropbox and bring them here into your OneNote account. Pretty cool feature. Or OneDrive. It's all good. PDF printout. For those of you who want to print your stuff maybe at the end of the day, you can tap on that, okay? And you can basically tell it where to go. Done. Then we have, of course, links, equations. I don't know anyone who uses that, and date. And I want to bring up something about date, okay? Some people that I've worked with in the past, there was a woman I was working with recently. She has a lot of different notes. And so the way she had her stuff structured was the notebook was the department, if I'm remembering this correctly, and then the sections were within that department, different functions, and then specific notes were pages. But a lot of her pages would have several different days worth of content. So what I would recommend doing is when you create a new page, notice here it already put the date and timestamp, okay? So I can put in the title. And then when I start to type, I've got all my text here. But what if I want to then maybe add like a day 2 of notes, okay? Well, this is where this is handy. So what I would do is I would tap on the screen where you want the cursor to go. Notice this is not linear, folks. Tap date, and it just automatically inserts the date. So it can be a little bit easier to search through your stuff through this method. Next here we have, I'm going to just undo this just so I can have a clean page. We're going to go to Draw. Draw is basically the coolest feature, in my opinion, in Microsoft OneNote. And this is the feature that I think Microsoft would tend to agree, because this is what they seem to feature in every single commercial. The ability to draw on top of text, on top of photos, whatever you want. It's really, really nice, especially if you have a good stylus. If you want recommendations for different styluses, there's different strokes, different folks. The top 2 that I like, I will put links to in the description of the video. So if I want to do text mode, notice I have a cursor, okay? I have to use my keyboard, I have to type. But if I don't want to do that, if I want to go something a little bit different, I can choose, a pen, I can do a marker or a highlighter. I'm going to go with a pen, I'm going to choose black. And you'll notice here by default we have black, blue, green, and red. If you want a different color, you can tap on the color wheel. You can go through any of these colors here. If you want to change the shade, you can go up and down, whatever you want. I'm going to keep it on black. And now when I draw, and by the way, I apologize, I have really, that's my name. That looks like my name, right? Does not look like my name. Next here we have thickness. Okay, so if you want something a little more on the chunky side, you can tap that plus button, and now you'll see it's getting a little bit more chunky. Let's go chunkier. That's a little bit chunkier. Oh, I'm sorry, it's because we're on pen. Sorry, if I go to marker, that's what I meant to do. Now that is some serious chunk factor. Okay, the other thing you really should check out here is this icon right here, the hand holding the pen. What we need to do is we need to tell it how to recognize your palm, and the way to do that is to basically tell it by picture. So from here, we're going to go to where it says Other Stylus, and these are the different ways that people traditionally hold a stylus. So pick whichever way represents you, and you'll notice this is mine. So I'm going to typically have my palm there on the screen. I don't want the iPad to think that that's me drawing or anything. Otherwise, it's going to be jumping all over the place. So this just tells it that when I'm using a stylus, that's the part that I want it to ignore. And it works very, very well. Next thing we have here, this is really cool. I skipped over it for a reason, so I wanted to have some content here first, is Lasso Select. And what I want to say about Lasso Select is that, OneNote is not linear. It's not, an 8.5 by 11. It's as big as not quite as big as you want it to be, but it really almost can be. So for example, on my iPad right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 2 fingers wide, and I'm going to bring them together, okay? Oops, I'm sorry. I got to go back in text mode to do this. So you'll notice as I do that, check it out. That image, which was, most of the screen, kind of backs out now. So I can start, drawing over here. I can do it down here. But it allows you these just massive playing fields to deal with. Kind of cool. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to show you the lasso part is sometimes especially when you're dealing with a non-linear format like this, you're going to want to move stuff around. So what I can do is I can take the Lasso Select tool. I'm just going to draw a circle around that text and see how it kind of highlights everything there, and then I can drag it over there. Really easy. Lasso Select. Very, very cool feature. And I tend to think that most of the best parts of OneNote are all here in the Draw tab. Next here we have View. This is really just kind of your own preference. You can go to 100% view, just kind of the norm. Page width, where it really pulls out there because I had that one at the very end. Paper color, you don't have to go standard white. You can go with pink. You can go with whatever you want. I think I'm just going to go with a light blue right now. Also, paper style. For those of you who do like something a little bit more linear, just kind of as a guide, you can use this. Understand, this is not, it's not going to conform to it. So, for example, if I go to this one here, I'm going to zoom in for a moment. If I tap, okay, it's not going to necessarily be right on the line. I can kind of try to get it there, but it's not going to, it's just a look. That's all it is. Then we have password protection here. So for those of you who are going to store important things in here, you can password protect it. I would like to give you a little word of warning, though, about using this with your passwords. I would not recommend it. If you are one of those millions of folks out there who is looking for a really nice way to store your passwords, we have a class that we do on 1Password. It's an app. It's great. I recommend it to everyone. I use it. Yes, I paid for it. I don't have an endorsement deal or anything like that, but it's by far a better way to store your passwords. This is for company secret information, that kind of thing, or maybe that family recipe that you just don't want the kids to get access to, or more like the in-laws, right? Spelling. For those of you who give a care about spelling, isn't that nice? We have that feature. So that is a little bit about the menu bar. So folks, what we're going to do at this point is, in order for me to make this class free, that's where the ads come into play. So we're going to go to a brief commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to go over a bunch of little tips and tricks that are going to just help you with everything, and hopefully have some fun too. So we'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome back. We're going to go over a few little tips and tricks here. So if you want a little bit more real estate here to work with, I want to show you a few things. So right now, I'm going to go over to Draw. I just want to have a marker to work with here. If I want to really use the entire screen on my iPad, this what I'm using is the iPad Pro, the small one. What I can do is if I tap on Draw again, notice it hides that menu bar. But if you want to really use a lot of this, see those two arrows at the top right corner? That's full screen mode. So now we're really working with the entire space. Oh, by the way, that's a cool feature too. If you start to draw a shape, okay, it's going to kind of figure it out and do it perfectly for you. Woohoo! Let's see if I can create like a little eyeball. There we go. Little eyeball looking left. All right, that was stupid. Let's go back. The next thing I want to show you here is this little man with a plus symbol at the top right. That is phenomenal if you want to collaborate with other people. So you can have as many people as you want working on a project. And so to do this, you can go into Invite People to Notebook. You can type in their names or email addresses here, okay? And you can also tell them, if they can or cannot edit it. So you might say here in the message, really just looking for, your feedback. I don't want you to make any changes to it. So then you might, undo that option right there. You can also just simply copy a link to the notebook. That way someone on the web could just pull it up, or you can email this page. If you do email page, what it's going to do is it's going to convert it into a PDF document, portable document format. That's what that stands for. The one thing I want to caution you about doing that is if you are like one of my clients who tends to have a lot of information in this, especially if you start getting into audio files and you've got video and you've got photo, just a lot of stuff, that PDF can be pretty darn big. So you might want to reconsider emailing it instead just copying a link. It might be a little bit better. Little alarm here. That's just for any kind of notifications. If someone else, adds something to your document, it'll let you know that. Okay. And then we have a search option. Okay. So again, you can search for any text that you've written or any text that you have a photo of. So let's say you took your iPhone and you took a shot of a receipt. Okay, and you can't find your receipt, you could just type in the name of the restaurant, and as long as it's in relatively clear print, it'll be able to search for it. Pretty cool stuff. Next trick I wanted to show you, is just a renaming. It's probably pretty obvious, but up here you see how it says Section 1, New Section 1. If you just tap into that, you can edit it and make it whatever you want. So I can make this more like lunch. Okay. Next thing I want to mention, if you put OneNote on your iPad, it might be a good idea, especially if you start to become kind of a power user. You might also want to get this puppy. This is Microsoft OneDrive. And the reason why I have them in the same category here is, some of you may already know this, but if you take 4 fingers on your iPad and you swipe left or right, you can go back to the last app that you were in. So here I'm in OneNote. I swipe with 4 fingers from, in this case, right to left, and boom, I'm back in OneDrive. So I can see kind of a more full layout of my stuff. And let's go back to where we were. Next thing I want to show you is, when you're going back and forth and copying and pasting, all that good stuff, right? When you're doing those kind of operations, it can be easy to forget what you have copied. If you look here at my screen at the very bottom left, we have the clipboard, okay? So that'll just basically paste, it's the exact same thing as paste, whatever it is you have copied to the clipboard. Another thing that I want to mention about that, let's just go back so that's gone, is that for those of you who do have a keyboard with your iPad, and personally, I have to say I love the one that Apple puts out. It's clean. For whatever reason, I just type really easily on it. All of those commands that you know for copy and paste, they work. Maybe not all of them, but a good chunk of them do. And what I'm going to try to do is put the most important ones for all of you in the PDF that we include for all of you. Next thing I want to talk about, if you ever need to delete a page, I may have already mentioned this, tap Edit, and then just simply hit the delete, okay? You'll also notice that you can move them. That's what this icon is here. So if these were maybe accidentally put in recipes and they're supposed to be elsewhere, I can move them. Here's my hierarchy. I can put it in Quick Notes instead. Okay, move them out of that section. Next thing I want to go over, undo. I know I already showed you how to do it with this little arrow here. I really wanted to mention that Command Z does also undo, for those of you who are used to doing that on a computer. The next thing I want to mention is a nice little trick for those of you who are doing this on an iPad, which is probably all of you, is about dictation. Now this is one of those really weird things. This is definitely a bug. And by the time some of you see this, there's probably already a fix for it. You've seen the date today, so it's, what's today? Wednesday, July 27th, 2016. Okay, so this feature may have been corrected by the time you see it. Dictation. So the iPad has dictation. The weird part, though, is you can't dictate if your keyboard is connected. Actually, there is a trick to do it, but it's very, very weird. What you can do is, if you want to dictate into OneNote, just disconnect your iPad from your keyboard. The keyboard pops up. As long as it's connected to the internet. There we go. See, there it is right there. And now I can dictate. My God, it actually got it accurate. Who knew? By the way, can I teach you all a little trick off topic? If you are, let's say, like on Facebook and you want to dictate, but you've got that keyboard attached, there is actually a trick around it. What you do is, on your keypad, on your keyboard, there's a button at the very, very bottom left. It looks like a globe. So this is really weird. You can add an emoji, okay? And then from here, what you do is, see the ABC at the bottom left? Tap on that, and now you can dictate, even with the keyboard attached. But as soon as I leave that, watch this. Okay, and I start using the regular keyboard. Oops, sorry. There's no way to do it. So it's a really weird thing. The way to make that work is by adding an emoji. Go figure. Next thing, I want to talk about something in regards to setting passwords, okay? So let's go back to, that's under View. What I want to mention about passwords is that you can not password protect a notebook. Again, Microsoft, a little odd. You cannot password protect a notebook, but you can password protect a section. If you quit the app, like let me just show you this here. I'm going to just double click on my home button so I can close it out from running in the background. Okay. When I go back in, I'm going to have to put in that password to get in. I didn't actually password protect it, so that's why it didn't ask me. I'm just making a point. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you how to annotate an image. Okay, I think that'd be a good thing to do because a lot of people really care about that feature more than anything. So we're going to go here into Insert, and I'm going to just tap over here on, Sorry, I'm going to tap into it. Now, it's getting a little dark where I am, so I'm actually recording this at my kitchen table right now. So I'm just lifting my iPad off the keyboard. I'm going to go into camera. Okay, so I have here really fun stuff, right? My Bose manual. All right, we got there we go. And I tap the little button, and it takes a photo. One thing I want to show you here, look at the bottom. See that? Whiteboard photo document. That way it knows what it's looking at. And so by hitting document, it crops it immediately to the text, and I can hit check mark. But you can also do whiteboard or photo. I'm going to do document. Let's do that. There's a crop tool here, so if you really don't, care about that part. Okay, good. Check. So now if I want to mark that up, all I have to do is go back to Draw, grab my marker. Let's go to something like yellow. I can say, Folks, just before we go, two last little things. I want to show you how to import data from other apps into OneNote, and I also want to show you or give you some advice for if you have been using Evernote, how to migrate your data over. So the first thing I want to do is show you, this is one of the ways how I use OneNote, is I love cooking with my iPad. There's some great cooking apps out there. I use pretty much all of these. The big one I like is the New York Times. I just think that they do a really great, very classy job, and just the photography is enough to make your mouth water. So I'm going to save this recipe. Why not? All right, so let's tap on it. And with pretty much every app on the iPad, you're going to see this icon that you see at the top right, the share button, right? Just look for that icon. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap on that, and what we're going to do is we're going to swipe to the left here, and OneNote is at the very end. Now, if you do this and OneNote is not there, tap on More, and you'll see this list of different apps that can have integration, and there's OneNote. So if you don't see it there, just turn it on, and you're good. So we're going to save it to OneNote. One of the things I find very odd, I've noticed this for a while, notice the title is blank. It doesn't, for whatever reason, seem to know to take the first line of text and make that the title. So you'd have to actually copy and paste it over or just type it in. And then for location, it's going to, by default, save to the last place that you saved it to. So there it is. But if I want to save into a different place, I can go into recipes, maybe put in my quick notes for recipes, and hit send. Now when I go back to OneNote, there it is. Very, very easy, just like that. Okay, so the last part here, for any of you who are on something like Evernote and you want to move all of your stuff over, they do make a utility to move all that data. The problem is it doesn't work on a Mac. It only works on a Windows PC running Windows 7 or later. So if you have access to a PC, I'm going to give you a link to that, of course, in the description of the video. That should help make your migration a little bit easier. You can technically export Evernote content. Sometimes it's not like the easiest to bring in. So that is our little class on OneNote for the iPad. I hope you've enjoyed this. Leave us a comment below. Hit that little thumbs up like button if you've enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time. This is David A. Cox with Tech Talk America. Class dismissed.